Yo, what up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to your number one post-game show in all of the land. And it's not close, but we're here in the off season, and we're live here on Tuesdays at 9:01 p.m. Central Time. And listen, it's completely closing in on the draft. We're less than 2 weeks away, and we're going to make sure we give you anything and everything that you want. And we have our draft guru here, Ryan Meadows, Central Baptist very own, as I see Wayne talking in the chat already. But listen, come in, ask some questions. If you have a second, go ahead and hit the like button, but also hit the hashtag Ask Ryan or hashtag Ryan and ask your questions of anybody in the draft, whatever guy you're thinking about. We have answers to all of them, whether it's from me, Nate, or if it is from Ryan, if he has a little bit on it as well. We'll all have a little bit of our opinion on it, but we're going to completely dive into Ryan's draft board. We're going to go ahead and unveil his big board, but also in the second segment, dude, it is my favorite and probably either going to be the funniest or the hardest Grizz trivia that there ever has been the entire year. And I hope you tune in for that. In the very last segment, it's all going to be all Grizz talk. So the first part, NBA, Grizz trivia. And we're getting into all Grizz. That way, you completely keep them separated. That way, you understand why teams would make the decisions they make, but also maybe why the Grizzlies make the decisions they make in the last segment. But that's it. You know what time it is. Nate's here with me as well. So let's go ahead and bring in my guy. I'm sipping on the water tonight. You're on the Jameson.
Draft season.
Just a Tuesday.
Just a Tuesday. Listen.
Monday,
no. Tuesdays are when I need it the most.
Well,
seems like you're the one on the juice.
I might need it tonight. I literally hate how StreamYard decides, hey, I want to make sure it goes ahead and loops every time instead of like, hey, let me push the button if I want the loop.
I remember when this was a professional show.
Yeah, whatever.
I remember when the intro wasn't 4 minutes long.
You're welcome. Well, it wasn't 4 minutes long. The 2.5 minutes is from the actual other intro. Yeah. All right, Mr. Freeze a lot. All right. Listen, you're here. Thank you for joining in. You have some big news. Is it known news to everybody?
Probably
people that care about
people. Yeah.
No
Central
go.
Baptist alumnus? Probably not. I haven't posted on the alumni network yet.
Close enough.
All right. So what's the big news you got going on right now?
So I've accepted a job near Biloxi, Mississippi, and we are moving. We're actually moving this weekend. So right out of frame is a whole mess of boxes. So I tried to cut all of that out so you get kind of the corner. But we'll be moving this weekend. So next time I'm on the show, it will be beachside. So that will be a fun change of pace.
All right. Well, so listen, I'm gonna set Nate up for this one, the softball question. But Nate, I tell you, Ryan is moving. What's the first question you want to know? Because obviously Ryan's gonna be joining us draft night. And so the first question you want to make sure you ask Ryan, it has nothing to do with the draft, but what do you really want to know about Ryan's new setup?
Did you get good internet?
It's being ordered. It should be okay.
That's a horrible start. That's an awful start.
Hopefully it's similar to this, but a little bit better. But we are back in a community where
there's people around.
We're less than 25 miles from a Walmart, so that is a positive. But yeah, it should be a lot better. So I shouldn't have to do all this fancy setup work just to even get on here.
A little less Walking Dead type of community, which is at least a step in the right direction.
All right, so as King Meeks is here, obviously Wayne Hunt, all the normal people. Ryan, looking like a Temu version of Ryan Reynolds that's on Tubi. Temu Ryan Reynolds.
oh no. I didn't see that one, but when King Meeks is in the chat, you know that things are going to go well.
Yeah, we already answered the question from Wayne, but does that mean new job, new internet connection? Welcome to the future. Listen, he's gonna have neighbors. It's gonna be weird. Like his kids have never seen a neighbor, and like they're gonna walk up and be like, "Hey, why are they living on our land?"
Why is there no deer or turkeys around? Those are our friends.
Oh,
All the deers, all the turkeys. All right, so we're gonna get into a lot of the draft talk as always, but I'm going to kind of reveal your draft board in a second. So I don't want to do that at first. And we're going to try some things as tonight goes. We honestly want to try a lot of it because we want to see how the connection might be with more people here, showing you different graphics. So if you see different things throughout the night, one, you're welcome. But two, just know we're getting ready. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're not going to be able to kind of hit on, and stuff we're going to try. And so if it doesn't work and we freeze, let us know. We'd be more than happy to try to figure some things out. But Ryan, my first question off the top, and this is all about the draft as we look into the NBA side of things. So it's nothing to do with the Grizzlies. Obviously, if you have something about the Grizzlies, then by all means. But my first thing is if you look back on this draft, let's say in a year or two, what's going to be the sentiment, or what's going to be maybe your thoughts? Because it's obviously been called a weak draft. It's been called many of things, one of the worst drafts in a long time. But when you look back at that, all the studies that you've done, what's going to be the thing that you talk about, or thing that you maybe remember about this draft when you think about it in about a year or two?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that the top guys, and especially lottery, most of them are going to feel like busts right away. And the guys that are going to shine are the guys kind of in the mid to later first round, early second, who are the role guys.
Okay.
I think that's kind of what this class is you're trying to find a nice role fit that could help you. And so I think there's probably one or two guys out of this that's outside of a lottery or in the late first round that contributes right away for a team and does a good job. And we're like, oh, is this the steal of the draft? Like, why didn't he go above such and such at 10 or whatever? So I think that's probably how we'll view this next season.
Okay. Well, that's been my whole thoughts about all of this. It seems like it's a draft where you're not going to have the all-star level players, but you could look up in about 10 years and there's a lot of people that are contributing on winning teams, but aren't like the I guess option A, B or C. It could be F off the bench. Like it just could be a lot of different versions of this. But I do see that there are some guys that we want to hit on. But Nate, do you have anything before we kind of reveal his draft board and kind of dig through that for a second?
No, I'm excited to dig into it. I haven't looked at much draft stuff in general. Obviously, I am a draft expert that only picks one person per draft. That happened to be David Roddy, and that worked out for me. But other than that, I don't pay attention. So, no, I'm excited to see it. I've seen a little bit of the board, but not enough to get too in-depth yet.
Yeah. All right, let's look at your big board right here. And yes, you do read top to bottom, left to right kind of style. Listen, that's on me. I apologize. I'm the idiot who made this. But off the top, you do have, SAR, and then it goes to Holland, which is a rise compared to consensus rankings in general. But anything that you see there that maybe people that you want to let people know about?
I mean, I think I gave this to you a couple weeks ago, and there's probably some changes I need to do this due to this, but I think the first one that's going to stick out to people as they read this is, where's Rob Dillingham? Rob Dillingham is kind of a consensus lottery guy, and I just do not view him as that kind of player, and I'm not really sure what kind of role he is. Yeah, he's like a really interesting individual one-on-one player. He's been described as kind of like a jitterbug with the ball, quick with it, flashy, but it's the size thing for me. I mean, he tested as small as we thought he would be, and he is thin, skinny. So it's hard to find a role for him where he's going to be on a top team that you'd say contributes. Like, he kind of needs to be on a really bad team to put up numbers. So that's kind of the best case scenario, I think, for Rob. And that's why I don't have him initially on my top 20.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm just looking at this, and going through some of the names. Obviously, probably number 11, Saloon. I don't know much about him. I'm not even going to try to say his first name. But you're looking through a lot of this. And tonight we're hearing that Devin Carter has a green room invite, which is exciting just overall. But Dalton Connect, who you have 13, has a green room invite. But after that, you're talking about Klingon, who's down at 14. I think he's a lottery pick through and through. I don't think anybody would pass on that opportunity, in my opinion. Bub Carrington, is it Mogbo?
Mogbo, yep.
Mogbo. Okay, see, I paid attention before the thing, my 2 seconds. And then Cody Williams is a wild card. I think Cody Williams could go, high in 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, whatever, and then fall down in the 20s. I think he is a wild card. Jalen Tyson, AJ Mitchell, Tyler Kolek. I expect all of them to go 15 to 25, maybe 15 to 30 if you had to give it a little bit broader of a range. But I don't think, honestly, if it's the player that you like, I'm okay with this. Like, I'm not against like what this is in general of a big board, because it's guys that you like, guys that you expect to be successful. Because when you look back on this and, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're saying, hey, these are going to be the best players in your opinion of this. And so at that point, I think it'll be exciting to kind of revisit this years to come, especially if you have better internet.
Yeah. So to ignore that, the way that, like, I'm not the first person to say this, and I think it's a good way to think about this draft is basically you're starting the draft off at pick 6 or 7, right? Like, there's just not that elite top end guy. Like, there's not a Cade Cunningham, there's not a Evan Mobley type. Like, you're getting a guy who's probably was going to be discussed in 7 to 10. And that's where the start of this draft is. That's why I think it could go all over the board. That's why it's always interesting to me when everybody does their NBA big boards and they're all the same players, but they're switched around 1 through 10. And that's just kind of the groupthink thing that I'm not a huge fan of. Like, if you just like a guy, put him up there. What are you afraid of? Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not doing it professionally. Like, I'm not getting paid to do that. So maybe there is safety in doing that for your job. But I think that's where we get a lot of misses, is because we see Gavoni from ESPN put it, and everyone else put these guys as their top or their lottery, and we just don't differentiate from that when this is a draft where you need to differentiate, if I could say that correctly. But like, just if you like a guy, put him up there. Who cares? It could be wildly wrong, you could be wildly right. That is kind of the nature of this year's draft. There's no sure thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about 4 guys that I have, and we have our fancy looking graphics that we're going to actually try. But the first guy I want to talk about is Sar here, and we're going to talk about him and just kind of see what he looks like. See, I want that to go full screen. There we go. All right. So we're looking at, and we're trying this out, like I said. So we're talking about Sar, who should be probably the number 1 pick in general, but we have Meadows musings over here. I hope you like that. But he incredible defensive versatility, high ceiling risk. But what is the offensive game? So Ryan, what is his offensive game?
Yeah, he's been described as, or I don't know if he's self-described, but he's a guard in a 7'1" guy's body, which is like, okay, he wants to play on the perimeter at 7'1". He came off the bench for Perth, I believe, was the team that he played for. And you saw it sometimes when he played against G League Ignite. He was kind of shooting a bunch of threes. And then if he was driving, it had to be wide open. And they were kind of wild finishes. So either he had to get really nice lobs or they were wide open dunks, or he was kind of chucking up threes, which is, that's kind of the question mark with him, which is probably why my board will update and he'll move. I'll actually probably move him down. I don't think he's solidly number 1 anymore for me. Just because of the question mark of, like, is he Christian Wood-esque? Right? Like, now Christian Wood doesn't play defense at the level that Sar could play, but the offense is starting to become a real question for me. It's kind of like, what does he do for a team on offense? I think the defense is a surefire thing. The offense is the question mark where this is the high risk part. If his offense turns out to be something solid, he's a good perimeter shooter, and he can attack a basket and create stuff, no doubt he should be the number one guy. But that's the huge risk question mark with him, where he could just be a really nice defensive player who can't do anything on offense and will be looked as like a bust.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree with the fact that he is a unknown offensive talent, but his ceiling is crazy high. Just looking at him, like, he is a guy that you look at and you're like, all right, the defense is there, but what else is it? And honestly, it is the high risk, high reward. And I think that you kind of have to make a look at a guy like that. All right, let's go to another guy. We're going to keep running through the next three here. And we have a guy who is, see, I don't like that. Why does it do that? Kenny, can you figure that out for me? I want to not do that. I don't want to go to the 3-shot. I don't like how that looks. Does that look good to y'all?
Maybe let's figure it out after the show. How about that?
No, we're going to figure it out during the show. No, this is our chance to figure it out live.
You got to figure it out before Chip, someone who's actually reputable.
Well, also, Kenny's busy making lattes in the background. So let's just get going.
All right, let's look at Nikola Topic here. Serbian guard. So does that mean no brainer? Because you're saying the positional size, which is elite, and then the best passer. So what does the Serbian guard no brainer mean?
I mean, he's a 6'7" point guard. Like, I'm just going to take a chance on a guy like that. High field player. Like I said, I think he's the best passer in the class. Very creative. Obviously, the question mark and probably why people have him falling is I think he partially tore his ACL or something like that recently. So there would be question marks if he's even playing this fall, at least at the beginning of the season. But, you know, the things that kind of ding him are, is he athletic enough? Is he quick enough? At that size, like, I'm not saying he's Luka Doncic, but Luka can do a lot just because of how big he is, right? And this guy is a 6'6", 6'7" point guard that sees the court well and can make every pass that you want to. So he can see over defenses. I mean, at worst, he's like a Josh Giddey player, right? Which Josh Giddey, we know in the playoffs, was like, all right. But he's still a guy who's contributing to a 50-plus win team. So I think Topic is a solid player. Don't know if he's an all-star, but he kind of has the ceiling of, if it all kind of works out and the shot translates, which it looks a little clunky, he's a potential all-star player.
Right. Yeah. So I think he is the best guard, like point guard, on-ball guard in the entire draft. He has fallen in a lot of people's draft, which is on their draft board, which is weird. And obviously it is the injury. Quick Grizzlies question, not too long. Maybe 10 seconds. If he does fall to 9, no matter what, do you take him as with the Grizzlies?
Sure, absolutely. I'd take him. Yeah, that's a gift to me.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk about another guy. This is going to be Stefan Castle here. Again, I can't figure out why it goes there, but we're looking at, he hasn't shot well, but you like the rim pressure. Is he a lead guard? He said that he's kind of backed off on a lot of the conversations with teams that don't want to make him a point guard or have a starting point guard in place. But he does have the defensive prowess in general. So what's your thoughts on Castle?
Yeah, I like Castle a lot. The POA is point of attack, if anybody need to know. But the lead guard thing, the reason I put that in there is because it's a huge question mark to me, because if you weren't a lead guard at Connecticut, and sure, maybe he's playing a role, and I talked with this at Chip on the episode that he joined me on, and Chip's really high on Castle too, and so I asked Chip about, do you think it was the system that benefited Castle or hurt him a little bit? And that's the kind of thing that you're going to find out. I'm just wary of guys who say that they can do more than what they showed, especially in a team that was as good as UConn was, obviously winning national championship. But The league guard thing is weird because, okay, you could be a tall, good positional size point guard that can get to the rim, can't shoot. Who does that sound like? Or you could be like Justice Winslow, right? Which that was kind of the framework for Justice Winslow. So it's like, is he more Jimmy Butler-ish or is he more Justice Winslow type? And that's kind of the question with Castle, but I still have no problem with putting him as high as I do compared to other prospects, because I at least expect the lockdown defense stuff. I mean, at worst, if he's Isaac Okoro, you can think whatever you want about Isaac Okoro. He can't shoot, but he was a starting wing for a 50-plus win Cavs team that made the second round. So he's not going to be bad. It's just, what is the ceiling really, and what can he actually do?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was typing. So I do like Castle.
I was wondering how long it'd take you to catch on.
Well, I thought so I pushed it, but sometimes if you like don't push it hard, like it won't like actually go off the mute. Anyway,
That's what she.
So,
never mind.
Yeah, let's go. Somebody had to say it. That was an enjoyable moment for the live crew. You have to tune into the video to enjoy that moment.
I like the upside of Castle's defense, but the whole I can shoot better, I can do this better, I can do this, but I don't know if I love that. And then the whole I'm not going to go work out for you if you already have a lead point guard. Listen, no, I'm kind of out on him just from that part. You know, it's not that just for the fact on the Grizzlies side. You know, if I was another team and I need a point guard, maybe. But I don't know if I love the ball in his hands that much. Like, he doesn't look like he is a guy that honestly can carry the ball for the most part. All right, let's go to the last guy. I know you're going to love this guy. I'm trying to see if I can do it real quick. I don't think I can. That was a little better. All right, Tyler Smith. He is a lefty shooter. And I say this guy for last because I know you love him. So what's up about Tyler?
I mean, he on that card it says 6'7", but I'm pretty sure he's actually 6'9". But lefty shooter on volume, which is, you know, I prefer volume over straight percentage. And the question is, like, will the potential be recognized, is because we kind of just saw that he only was a shooter. And at worst, if that's all he is a awesome shooting big guy, then he has a role in the NBA, right? Like, he might bounce around teams, but he's always going to have a position on a roster. The upside is if it's actually recognized and it becomes more of a creative, like he can drive, attack the rim, and pass. And he didn't really do much defensively this year, but, you know, no rookie is going to be good at that. If he can get in with Taylor Jenkins in the system where, you know, that is their calling card, quote unquote, is defense. If he becomes a defensive player, then he becomes a monster because he can be on the court all the time, and he immediately becomes a pick and roll nightmare because all he'll do is pop. And you have to either respect Ja and his drive, and they're kicking it out to a 40+% 6'9" lefty 3-point shooter, or they're staying on Tyler and Ja gets that wide open lane down the middle. So the idea of him makes a lot of sense to me. Most mocks I see him he's actually falling in a lot of them. He was early in the 20s, and now he's getting more towards the end of the first round, which I just flat out do not agree with all the guys that are above him. Teams have reached for shooters before. Just ask the Orlando Magic last year when they took Juwan Howard's kid at 10. Like, someone's going to take a 6'9" shooter, 3-point shooter. They're just going to do it. So if you're a betting person and those, you know, draft position over-unders come out, take the under.
I like it. All right. So those are obviously the 4 that we have. We're going to just try some different things. And obviously you can tell from my face that I'm pissed off with just the way it looks. But Kenny's doing a great job on the graphics. We have to figure out on my end mainly exactly how to go in and out and make it look better. We want to make this look professional. So this is me. But I will say That was a great job. All right. I know you have a bunch of questions real quick, and we're going to run you through the gauntlet a little bit before we get to Grizz trivia. So, Nate, what you got?
Well, main thing is I do want to ask, after looking at Tyler Smith stuff, which, by the way, you just see him cock back those lefty dunks and hammer them home. It's just unbelievable to watch. But what's the big downside with taking a guy like Tyler Smith? Or is there one? Is it just, hey, maybe he's not able to shoot that way in the NBA is the issue, or what?
Yeah, I think the issue right now with him is defense. Like, he right now looks completely lost most of the time. And really all he did at G League Ignite, which the team was terrible, you can explain it away as much as you want to about that G League Ignite season, but he pretty much was only a 3-point shooter. Like, he got some lobs, like you said, he'd get that dunk wide open, but most of the time he was popping to shoot threes. And he didn't really show a lot of versatility. But he grew up being a guard, and he just hit that growth spurt, which we've heard millions of times from NBA players, who got big, or, Anthony Davis is probably the one that comes to mind right away. Like, he was 6'3", 6'4", whatever, and played guard. And then he hit that growth spurt, and now he was a center, and he still kept his guard skills. Like, Tyler Smith has that kind of skill set. He still has the guard skills. He's just a lot taller. But I think the biggest thing why the risk people talk about is he actually just a standstill 3-point shooter? And can he play defense? That would probably be the biggest things.
Gotcha. So sounds like a classic Grizz trade up target, but we'll save that for another day. All right, I'm going to bring your board back up here because I do have a couple of questions, and my sort of mind goes to high-low when I'm looking at stuff like this. And I'm not a draft expert. I don't pay a lot of attention to this. So all I get to see is a lot of people's boards. And the first thing I noticed about this is a couple of guys that are one higher than I've seen sort of as quote-unquote consensus, and two lower. And I want to start with the lower guys.
Sure.
First one I want to start out with here, and I know you already know where I'm going with one of them, but we're saving him for next. First one's Reed Sheppard.
Yeah.
Reed Sheppard at 10, and he's been consensus pretty much top 6, top 5 guy, if not even higher than that. What's up with you having him as low as 10 on your board?
Yeah, this is one where I would adjust. I would probably move him up to either 8 or 7 now if I had to redo this. The big worry for me was the size. And the more I watch him, the more I think about the size. 6'2" isn't awful, but to me, he's always going to be a solid backup. I just do not see the path for him being a high-end starter for a good team. He might be a starter for a bad team, and that's fine, but it'll be probably part of the reason why they're bad is he's starting for them. But I like him a lot, and he gets the Kentucky bump. And I'm more forgiving with him than I am with Dillingham because both of them came off the bench. And I was worried about Reed defensively, and probably the biggest reason why I'd bump him up higher now is because I've seen more defensive playmaking stuff and more athleticism than I thought on first watch or seeing it live. And so that's why I would probably move him up. It's probably not fair to have him at 10. So, yeah, that's a good call on that one.
That's fair. And I want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. When I think of Reed Sheppard, I think of every team has a need for shooting.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are. Every single team has a need for shooting. And that obviously includes the Grizz. Clearly, with the way 3-point shooting went last year, the Grizz need that. That being said, when I see his name, even if he is there at 9, assuming the Grizz stay at 9, I think there are guys that are better help now fit players that are going to be there at 9. Would you say yes, or you think Reed Sheppard's there at 9? Grizz, you got to pull the trigger on this guy.
I think it depends on who went above him, like who is the surprise people, because him falling at 9 would be a surprise, I think. So that means a couple people probably leaped him, I would expect. So it'd be kind of depending on who's left. But Reed Sheppard is kind of like, we have this problem with Tyus, right? Like, it's just a small, undersized guard. Him and Ja were playing together. Didn't really work. Tyus can shoot threes. I don't know if Reed has the dribble drive floater like Tyus does, or is the passing quality. But to me, like, if he's TJ McConnell with a 3-point shot, like, that is an NBA player, right? Like that's a guy that's in the league, multiple contracts, 8 to 10 years. At number 3, would you say, well, that was a great career or a bust? That depends on, if you want to argue that. But if you last past your first contract in the first place as a rookie, like you've had a great career. Because every year in this draft, you get approximately 20 NBA players who make it past their first rookie contract. Like 20 guys out of 60. So you're trying to just find somebody who will stick. And Reed, the more I watch him with the defensive stuff, I think he'll actually stick. So if he's there at 9, would I be against it? No. But it would depend on who else was on the board. Like if it was a situation where it was Reed dropped for some reason and it was Holland was also on the board, Ron Holland was also on the board, I would pick Holland first just because of size athleticism. But Reed does hit a more immediate need in just the actual shooting part, where Holland does not right away.
You killed one of my future segues, because the guy who I was going to say is my example of who's on there is Ron Holland. Like that was the guy I was going to say if it's Ron Holland or Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
Who would you go with? Because again, it's positional fit, right? It's positional need, right. What you have. And I, for one, can't believe that there's Grizzlies fans out there saying, we don't need any more wings after the Grizzlies' history of wings. Like,
yeah,
every wing with potential, bring them on. Yeah. If they, GG, Vince, all of them work out, all the better. But on the topic of size, though, the other guy you have low here, I'm going to bring your board back up, is one I think is going to stand out to a lot of people, and that is number 14.
Yeah,
Donovan Clingan.
I was wondering how long I have actually. Take. Yeah.
As I say, we've talked about this a little bit, but I haven't really gotten your actual reasoning on it, right? I think we've noticed some of the same things, but that's way lower than a lot of people have them. And I know most Grizz fans out there, unless they're Zach Edey fans, are saying if Klingan's there at 9, you've got to pull the trigger. Yeah. But you have him at 14, so I would not think you agree. What's your reasoning on that?
No, I'm just not big on a lot of the bigs, honestly. And honestly, I wouldn't be high on Sarr if it wasn't for just the potential ceiling, right? Like, I think with Klingan, I think he is what he is. Like, he's shooting all these threes and combine, all these drills, and everybody gets this idea, and he's saying, I can shoot threes. I shot threes in college. He's selling himself because this is contract money. Like, the 9th pick for us, I think, is a $5 million a year contract. If the higher he gets, it bumps by $500,000 or $1 million. Like, he's trying to solidify in the top 3. He wants a $7 million a year contract right out of the gate, right? So you're going to sell whatever you think teams want to hear. And teams want to hear that not only can you protect the rim, but you can also shoot threes, right? He is very similar to Walker Kessler to me. And Walker Kessler became a backup for a 31-win Utah Jazz team, right? Like Walker Kessler does something well, which is protect the rim, but that's really about it. And Klingan is kind of like that for me. Now, everybody's trying to sell you on the passing chops and the screening and all that kind of stuff. Oh, he has good footwork. I just flat out do not see the footwork part of it. He looks clumsy to me. He does not finish well. The ball's kind of always flipping around. And that's just not someone that I'm looking for the Grizzlies. And anytime, like, just kind of a draft rule for me is if he's a big man and he's not elite, I'm not taking him in the top 14. Like, I'm not taking him in the lottery. And so you just look back at the draft history of guys who were good at one thing, not elite, and then they said they could do something else, right? They never worked out. Like, I think Mo Bamba said the same thing. Like, he could protect the rim. He was big. Oh, also I can shoot. I didn't get to show that at Florida State or wherever Mo Bamba played at. He comes in and he bounces around the league. He's a 12th man on every roster. Not saying that Klingan will be that, but I just do not view Klingan as a guy where if he fell at 9, you have to take him. You cannot consider anyone else. I just do not believe that with the bigs in this draft. You put Klingan in last year's draft, he's going 25th past that. Like, he's not a top 20 pick last year, in my opinion.
Right. And I think that's a big thing for me is he can screen. He can rebound if he's in the paint. and he can protect the paint, right? He can protect the rim if he's at the rim.
Yeah.
My big thing is the same thing you saw. I don't trust the footwork. He doesn't look light on his feet at all, which he's 7 foot a million. I wouldn't expect him to be super light on his feet. But when you look at the NBA and you're dealing with guards like De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Ja Morant, I don't see you being able to defend the paint as well as you were in college unless that footwork goes a long way.
Yeah.
Regardless if you can set screens or not, right? Because you're just going to get murdered and played off the court when you get into drop coverage.
I think he's already had 2 foot issues, and he has kind of an awkward running style. Like, I would not think, I don't want to project, and I don't want to say a guy's going to get injured, right? I just don't want to do that. But his running style is not a fluid running style where you would say, that looks natural, right? Like, he can hold up for 82 games plus playoffs. I just don't see that from him, right? Like, I see him as a max 60, 65 games a year kind of guy, hopefully. And he can get played off the floor very easily depending on the matchup that you have in the playoffs. So for me, it's not a slam dunk.
No, that's fair. I've got a couple of bigs that I like a lot more than the 2 big name bigs in here, but I know Daniel wants to get to the next segment, so I won't bother us into that yet. But I do have one high guy I want to hit on before we get into the next segment. So appreciate you being patient, Daniel. I know it's been a rough day, and you probably need a drink, to be honest. But bring up the board one more time. The main guy that's high on here that stands out to me that I love because he reminds me of a guy we just saw really, really recently in the Eastern Conference Finals is Isaiah Collier.
Yeah.
This is a guy who I see and I'm like, top 5 pick? I don't know. That might be a reach. I see 0% chance of him not finding a way to succeed in the NBA, personally.
Yeah, the thing that I was really high on Collier, of which I might move him back a little because, depending on how you feel about the combine, I do think measurements matter a little bit, especially just for more positional size, right? And Collier was kind of billed as a 6'5" point guard, which I was like, oh, good grief. This guy's 6'5", and the rim pressure is incredible. He's probably even better at Castle than that. Like his finishing, the touch, all of it. And then it got measured and it was actually 6'2" or 6'2.5", maybe. I'm not sure of the exact number. And so that was kind of like, that kind of messes with it. And you're like, okay, 6'2.5" to 6'5", like what's the big difference? 2.5 inches in the NBA is a pretty big deal for a guard, right? Like, and so I just preseason, he was the number 1 guy coming into this class and he got injured. USC sucked. He was playing alongside Boogie Ellis, the Bronny James kind of thing. Boogie needed the ball a lot. So it's kind of like the Holland effect. He got injured and everybody soured on him. And I just don't get why you sour on a guy. It's why this thing with Toppage, right? Like why I keep him in the top 5 is, yeah, he has a half torn ACL, but the high-end ceiling of what he is does not immediately drop him from 3 to 12 for me. And it's the same thing with Collier. Like this is a preseason number 1 guy. Now he's in the 20s because he was injured for half the season and USC sucked. So now him individually as a player, he sucks. That kind of stuff never makes sense to me. So I still really like Collier. I don't know if he's your starting point guard. He's probably going to have a first year if he's on a really bad team and he gets to start right. Like he's going to have a freshman year, not freshman, but rookie year like Scoot Henderson, right? Like Scoot really struggled this year and couldn't shoot the ball. I think he'll have that kind of year, but the long-term vision of what he could be, I think it's an NBA player.
Fair enough. I think he'll succeed in one way or another. I don't think starting point guard is the path I see, but I think he'll for sure succeed somewhere. If you see guys like Aaron Nesmith, I'm like, he's going to succeed the same way Aaron Nesmith does at the least.
His talent is starter ceiling. Will he get there? Will the shot be reliable enough to be that? Probably not.
Fair enough. Okay, Daniel.
About time. My God. Let's get to it. We're going to transition right through it, and we're not going to have any commercials tonight. Tonight, we're going to hit on Grizz trivia, and then right to that, we're going to go into the all Grizz talk. So now that Nathan's got all his questions out of the way, thank God, let's go ahead and ask this this question right now. And this is something that I've said and from day one, and this has been my I guess my topic that I'm going to stand on. There have been 15 white American-born players to get drafted in the top 10 in the last 24 drafts going back to 2000. So since 2000, there have been only 15 white American-born players. Obviously, you know the latest one, and that was Chet Holmgren. But what are the other 14 guys that you could think of that might be a top 10 draft pick in the last 24 drafts?
I might need a second on that one.
And the reason I've always said
the American thing is like,
Yeah,
the reason I've always said this is if you look at the league, it's like a 2% that is white American born players that are playing in the league. Like literally, I would never draft a white American born player in the top 10 unless it's a guy that's a complete outlier like a Chet Holmgren. And let me just say, bro, there are only two. Well, there's more all-stars because some of them play in the East, but there's two guys that you would say, all right, those guys are good. The rest, three guys that you would say were good. And none of them, outside of those two of the three that I said were good, are big guys. The rest are trash, but they're all big college players.
Is one of them Mike Miller?
Mike Miller.
There you go.
Absolutely. So he was a guard. So he's one of the three that I would say is not trash.
I keep wanting to say TJ McConnell, even though he went undrafted.
For some reason, I just want to say Franz Wagner over and over again. I can't think of anyone else besides Franz.
Gordon Hayward wasn't top 10, was he?
Gordon Hayward was top 10 in 2010. He was drafted by Utah 9th overall. I'm not saying I guess he's not trash, but man, he's
dropped off a lot.
Yeah, he dropped.
So he had a bunch of trash centers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, there was a movie made about, and this guy was, he had his nickname, that became his nickname. I think it was Animal House is where his nickname came from.
Is it Scalabrini?
No, it wasn't, but this guy was drafted from Charlotte. Charlotte has...
Adam
God,
Morrison.
Well, Adam Morrison's one of them.
One of them.
Chat, what you got? Anybody got any of these?
How many are there?
There's 15 total. Y'all have gotten 4. I gave you Chet.
Oh, God. So we've got 5 total?
4 total.
Oh, including Chet? Oh, God.
Oh, no. He was Australian. Never mind.
That's what I'm saying.
There's not many left in the league. I can tell you that.
I'm like, one of the Dragics, Rubio.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
Man.
Oh, man. Mike Trout. I
have no idea,
dude.
All right. So let me start giving you some clues to these guys. So this guy currently, I believe he got drafted 10th overall by Sacramento in 2017. I believe he is playing for the Spurs, and he has some just gorgeous locks.
Oh.
Zach Collins. And there's another one, I think, from Sacramento. It's he played at Michigan. What's that guy's name?
Is Plumlee one of them?
Greg Deo.
No, not.
So Stauskas is Canadian born.
Okay.
It's not Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner, not. This is since 2000 draft.
Plus, I thought Laettner would have been way too long.
Yeah, he would have been a little bit earlier, but great answer right there.
Oh, Hansborough.
Tyler Hansborough was not in the top 10.
Oh, he
Was he
wasn't?
not?
Okay.
Well, if he
man.
was, then he was before this.
God, he fit the mold perfect. I thought I had one.
If you probably gave me names and years, I might be able to figure that out better. But for
All right,
some
hold on
reason,
one
I
second.
cannot.
Plumlee, it's not one
anybody.
of Plumlee, right?
So Tyler Hansborough is 38 years old. He was drafted. He's from Poplar Bluff, Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Columbia, Missouri is where he was born. 2009, 2013. It doesn't say when he was drafted.
Hansborough should have been like 2009.
He was selected 13th overall. Tyler Hansborough was, so that he is out. Anyway, all right. So this guy is from 2015. His nickname comes from Animal House. He was 9th overall from the Charlotte Hornets. He's a goober. He was good, and he played for Wisconsin.
Oh, Frank Kaminsky. Yeah,
Frank the Tank.
Yeah.
As soon as you said Wisconsin, I knew. Didn't even have to know what year.
All right, this guy,
JJ Redick.
Clues. Any clues on all these?
JJ Redick's now not top 10.
JJ Redick was like a late first rounder, wasn't he?
He wasn't top 10.
McDermott.
Dougie McBuckets is not on here.
Oh.
All right, so let's go to another guy. You're thinking about the right area. This is in North Carolina. Charlotte, North Carolina was selected 4th overall. He played at North Carolina, I believe. Let me just double check myself.
What year?
2013.
Is Kyle Korver top 10?
The Charlotte Bobcats actually drafted him at that time. College. Indiana. I'm an idiot. Indiana.
What? Oh,
old school, not Animal House. I'm an idiot.
He's playing for the Pelicans. What's that guy's name?
Hey, another hint. He's white, in case you're wondering. And he's a big.
He's bald now, and he wears a mask. Oh, what's his name?
Oh, dang! I can see his face.
Close. Sounds like
Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, I could see his face, but I couldn't put it together.
All right. This guy was another Adam Morrison-esque player drafted in 2011, 10th overall by Milwaukee Bucks. Just like Adam Morrison.
2010.
Same guy. Same thing. Is still getting buckets overseas right now. You can bring him on to your TBT tournament. He'll give you 40.
OJ Mayo.
West Coast, Gonzaga.
Oh, Kevin Love would be one. We didn't say Kevin Love. Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yep. So Kevin Love is one. Just like Adam Morrison. I'm sorry. Is he? No, I'm thinking of probably the wrong guy.
I don't know that one.
Where did he go to school? Where did he go to school? He went to BYU. Sorry. Same thing.
Oh, Jimmer Fredette. Yep.
Jimmer Fredette. How do you not know Jimmer Fredette? All right, so
I should know about the TBT thing.
To be honest, anyone like Jimmer Fredette, I thought I covered with McDermott. I was like, they're all the same player.
All right, so this one he's actually an all-star, and he played for the Bucks this season. 2008 guy, 10th overall to the New Jersey Nets. Tall guy, big guy. One of the 3 players I say are not trash or that are actually good player.
He played for the Bucks this season?
This season. Stands in the corner. Shoots threes. Some people like to call him the defensive player of the year at times, especially during Jaren's year. Guys, what are we doing? Yes.
Brook Lopez
is not white.
He is. Is he not?
I thought Brook Lopez a long time ago. I don't think. All right, I need our
He's
blessed
very
barista to
obviously
do some
not
fact
white.
checking for us, just to be sure. But
Is he not
Brooke
white?
Lopez. I mean, his last name is Lopez.
Dude, I did a double, triple check on him.
No.
Cuban from Cuba. My fault.
It's like, no, the Lopez brothers are not in this conversation.
Yep. Sorry. Anyway, all right. Let me give you these because we've lasted way too long on there at this point. All right. 2004, Luke Jackson, 10th overall to Cleveland. My God.
Oregon's finest.
Trash. Chris Kaman, 2003,
Oh,
6th overall to the Clippers. Trash.
crazy.
Kirk Heinrich, same draft, 2003, 7th overall to Chicago. He's not terrible, but he had
Kirk
like
Heinrich
two
was
good.
2003.
Yeah, he had
That's
like
surprising.
2 good years. This guy, I was on the edge of like, was he good or not? I think he played on a lot of trash Warriors teams. His dad was a coach for the Clippers. You know him.
Oh,
Mike Dunleavy.
Duke guy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Mike Dunleavy. And then the last one, 2000 draft, Chris Mim, 7th overall to Chicago.
I would have never gotten that one. Yeah.
Dude. But that I just wanted to do that. One, I'm sorry about Brooke Lopez and his family for calling you white.
Offensive.
But going through these bigs, because only in 2 drafts have there been 2 white American-born players, and that was the 2000 draft where Mike Miller and Chris Mim. Chris Mim was the big. Mike Miller was the guard. Does that not sound like Reed Shepherd and Donovan Clingan a little bit? And then you go to 2003, you had Chris Kaman and Kirk Heinrich. There's always a guard. There's always a big when that happens. This year will be the 3rd time since 2000 there will be 2 American-born players drafted in the first round that we expect. So crazy. But going through these bigs, Chris Mim, not good. And if you look at Chris Kaman, Kevin Love was the only standout that I really could find other than Brooke Lopez. And then you have Cody Zeller, which is really good in college and really just kind of flamed out. Obviously, he was just kind of a role guy. Frank Kaminsky, Zach Collins, and then Chet Holmgren. Does that scare you for Donovan Clingan, or can you separate the 2?
I can separate the 2. I mean, I like to use a lot of historical stuff to compare, right? And I've compared this draft to 2000 draft. I mean, that draft was hideous. This is just a bad draft. It is. And I just don't want to say they're the same, right? Like, just because this guy was terrible in 2000 or 2003 doesn't mean he's terrible now, right? Like, the game is just played differently than back then. But there is a lot of similarities and stuff that you can say, like, hey, maybe we should use a little more caution than this historically for. That's why I just say when I was talking to Nate, if he's not an elite big, I'm not taking him in the top 12. Like, it's just not happening. And I just don't view the bigs as elite.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into Grizz talk. I thought that was a lot of fun. Obviously, the whole thing that makes it the best is practically me calling Brooke
We
Lopez
apparently took over Cuba.
All right, let's listen. We're probably gonna go long tonight, so if that's cool with you, we'll try to get through these fairly fast. But Nate, I'm gonna have you kind of hold your stuff for a second about choosing between the players. So Nate wants you to give you a few players to choose between. I'm gonna ask these questions first because I think I would like to end the show with Nate's stuff because I think it'll be better for like kind of rapid fire.
Sure.
But the draft scenario you would be the most happy with, if you had to just say, hey, when it comes down to it, this is what I'd be the happiest with when we come out of this draft overall, just the first round, not getting the second round. What would make you the happiest if you were the GM, if you had a magic wand?
Well, there's personal, what I prefer and what I think makes more sense with the team. Like at the time when the lottery, lottery day or whatever that's called, the lottery show, I was kind of more towards the get 7 to 9 because I thought the optionality was a lot better than being in the top 3. Like the Hawks being number 1, they're kind of stuck, right? Yeah. Or if they do something, they're going to be giving away more than what they're getting in return. 7 and 9 in this draft, I think, has a lot more optionality to it, to where you can trade back. Maybe you move up a couple spots if you need to. It's not going to be a huge price to do that. But preferably, like, I want a top pick, right? Personally. For the team, I think it makes more sense to trade back, because I just don't commit 4 years, $5 million to a guy who may never play for me in the next 2 years, right? Trade back into the lottery. I think teams like the Portland Trail Blazers or someone like that, trying to get up to get another high top 10 pick. I think there's options there to pick a guy that's going to fall to you later in the draft that you like, and maybe you can get a player out of it. So I'm not a stick, we've got to get a center in this draft. I just don't believe that. I think there's better options or ways to get around it than saying we have to take Klingon or Edey. I think you can trade back, still get a serviceable guy, kind of keep your powder dry, so to speak, to go after a big that could actually help you immediately next season.
Yeah. All right. If you had to give me your top 5 Grizz prospects right now, like 5 guys, if you had your board, these are the 5 that you're hoping to get, and it can include, a SAR or whatever. It doesn't have to be your big board, but there are 5 guys you're like, hey, if you had the choice for 5 guys in a bundle sitting there ready for you to draft, you would have those 5.
Yeah. First would be Ron Holland. Second would be Tyler Smith. Third would be a more surprise for people. I would actually take Jared McCain. Which I know for you as a Duke guy, you're probably more surprised by, and you hated that team this year, so you're probably not as into it. But I like McCain's game. I think he's a good player. Like, he will fit a role. He is a really good shooter, just like Reed Shepherd. But I just kind of like the confidence of him. Like, you just cannot shake him. Reed Shepherd got shook first round against Oakland, right? Like, McCain came out firing and basically won them the game against not Houston, but whoever it was before. Maybe it was Oakland, actually, in that next round.
Yeah, it was Oakland.
So I like his confidence level. I think he can play, and he's basically the same side as Reed and as on par shooter. So I like McCain a lot. But I would take Tijuan Saloon. He's been kind of my top 5 as a project guy for the future. Like, if he hits, you just got a massive steal. If he fails, doesn't hurt you that bad, right? And then probably 5th, I like Jonathan Mogbo a lot. He does kind of have a Brandon Clark vibe. He's not as, he's not a get up in the air alley-oop kind of type guy like Brandon Clark is, but he's a 6'7", 6'8" point forward kind of, where he can handle the ball, create a little bit, do a little bit of everything, and he's a really good rebounder. So the question on him is shooting. That's why I think most people are keeping him in the second round. But I think he fits like what the Grizzlies like to do a lot.
Okay. All right. And this is going to kind of run you through a little bit of a kind of a quick fire. And so I don't want to hold you on to any of these guys in general. I'm going to pretty much ask you 3 guys that you would move up for, 3 guys that you would move down for, and 3 guys, if you're there at 9, like those are the 3 guys you want to get at 9. So quick fire, 3 guys you want to move up for. If you have 3.
This is tough because any of the guys could fall to you in this draft. Right. Like, just like when Nate was saying earlier, if Reed fell, that means a couple people jumped. I mean, 3, if I had to move up, there's not anyone that I would say you'd have to go get.
Okay, that's fine.
Move back. Hey, you can take anybody off the big board if you move back, and I'm fine with. Okay. There's not a potential move back that I think would be a steal, quote unquote, right? I guess he'd be considered more of a steal because he's just cheaper. And the whole idea of you got him at 15 instead of 9, you just look, quote unquote, smarter at 6 spot difference. Is it a big difference? No, he's going to be that good anyways, but you always just look smarter when you do that, right? But kind of the 3 guys, like Ron Holland is number 1 for me. Like, he's a guy that he's a basketball player, man. Right. And I don't care about the shooting as much. I like the energy. I like the effort. He is a guy that is always around the basketball. And you can always use guys who are like that. And you can mold them into the kind of role piece that you need them to be. So he's got good size, a lot of energy, good defense. Well, it could be better, but it's pretty good defense, a good basis at it anyways. And he scored more than people kind of assumed that he did. And people are just off him because of the injury stuff. And I just think it's wrong. I think it's flat wrong. Like if I had to redo my big board today, he's number 1 for me now instead of number 2. But second behind that is the same guy. It's Tyler Smith for all the same reasons. Third, that one I can be talked into or talked out of. I don't really have a target guy that like Tyler Smith and Ron Holland are the 2 guys that I'm for sure most interested by. The third one, I could go all sorts of avenues based on if they fell or we traded back or we traded up.
So quick scenario. So we're at 9 and Holland's available. You're taking him 100%.
Yeah, I'm taking him. I'm done.
If he's not available, are you still? Would you still take Tyler Smith at 9? Or are you just like, hey, I know we can fall back 3 or 4 spots and still get Tyler Smith? Or would you say, hey, I have to get him at 9?
I mean, I would probably take him at 9 just because you never know what other franchises are thinking, right? You never know who's going to pop in there at 10 or 12. Like the Thunder, I think, have the 12th pick. Like he makes a lot of sense for them, right? And so the Thunder are probably not going to shop that to move up to 9th from 12th. And so it's kind of like an intel thing. Like if you're hearing word that Tyler Smith's not dropping past Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm just taking it at 9. If he is kind of like a draft day talking about, well, this guy could go in the 20s, 25, then I would feel comfortable moving back and taking him. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, Nate, what you got? I know you got 3 guys to choose from. Let's see if we can figure it out.
We're going to go, because I thought you were doing this, I'm going to do just a few rounds of 2. I'm going to have you choose between a couple of guys. I've made this up in my head. It's okay. I did invent the exercise. I just didn't think I'd be executing the exercise. So the exercise is I'm going to give you 2 guys at a time. Yep. And I want you to take big board hat off, put Grizz drafting at 9 hat on. This is all about fit for the Grizz. And I just want to know, between these 2 guys, who would you pick? And we're going to progressively get to places where it's guys you actually want to pick. Not necessarily going to start out with guys you actually want to pick, but we're going to get our way there. So, round 1, Donovan Clingan, Zach Edey.
Clingan.
Okay, I figured as much.
Yeah.
Donovan Clingan, Kelly Ware.
Clingan.
Okay. Donovan Clingan, Day'Ron Holmes.
I would probably take Day'Ron.
Is this for the Grizzlies or is this NBA overall?
This for the Grizzlies. Yeah.
Okay. And I know Daniel's going to get mad at me, but I'm going to ask you really quick, in 3 sentences or less, why Holmes?
I think it's just we're overthinking it. Like this is a highly productive player at Dayton where he was the focal point. And he not only excelled, he improved every year. And so you just don't overthink it with those kind of guys. Like if they're improving every year and they're the best player on their team and they're their focal point for 3 years, or was he there 4 years? Is he a senior? Like just take him. He's a basketball player, right? And that's why I'd be comfortable with him, especially in a fit with the role with the Grizzlies as a bench guy.
Yeah, no big deal. That's just my favorite guy for the Grizzlies in the entire draft. So glad we're connected there. All right, going down a different route. So we're going to end that one. I really just wanted to see your gauge on the bigs there and where that fell. Sort of went the way I thought it would. I did not think you'd go with Holmes, though. So I'm very excited about that. Taking it down a different route. Reed Shepherd, Bub Carrington.
I'm gonna have to go Reed.
Okay. I know that hurts your soul, but
it does.
I had to ask. I had to ask. Okay. Reed Shepherd or Devin Carter?
I'd probably go Devin Carter on that one.
Wow. Did he freeze? Oh, there he is.
Was it me? Oh.
Uh-oh.
You're good. You're good. He said Devin Carter. Oh, boy. Both of you are freezing.
Really?
No, not
That's
you
tough.
now.
Did my internet just completely cut out, by the way?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to yell at Sarah to get off the Wi-Fi.
You're good. You're good.
We're good. We're good. All right. Sorry, we went Devin Carter. Okay. Devin Carter, Isaiah Collier,
Isaiah
Grizz-centric.
Collier.
Okay. Interesting there. I wasn't sure where you go. Isaiah Collier, Castle.
I'll go Collier.
Okay, interesting. I thought Devin Carter for the Grizz would win his way through the guard round that I had. Yeah. I knew not to ask about Ron Holland. I was like, Ron Holland's going to win whatever round I throw in front of Ryan.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go bigs / guards, sort of guard-ish type guys there. So interesting. Okay. That was fun. We landed on Dayron Holmes. That's a good round for me.
So who were the two guys? Dayron Holmes and was it Carter?
Collier.
Sorry. With both of y'all freezing, I can't figure out what in the world you're saying half the time. So I'm just over here just hoping. They're like,
Perfect.
God, y'all's internet sucks. Pay your bills. God. All right. Listen, that's all we have. Listen, I enjoy the draft. I am not an expert by no means. Like I've started kind of working on my draft board, and I have Sar, Topic, Buzelis, Holland, Rishashare, Klingen, Castle, Shepard, Dillingham. I have Dillingham at 9. And I know I have somebody off, but I've only gotten to 9 so far that I really feel comfortable about. But I'll probably go either like a Tyler. I do like Tyler Smith's game because he does fit, but I also like Khalil Ware, and that I think Khalil Ware could be a really good player in the NBA. I know Dayron Holmes, you like him too. I haven't watched enough about Dayron Holmes to kind of speak on him, but I think it'll be interesting for sure to see draft night comes. But all right, so I know you got some moving to do. We're not going to keep you forever, but we need you to make sure you talk to your people at your new home that you need good internet because obviously, as you can see, Nate moved and he didn't talk to his people prior about the internet, and now he's freezing every 5 seconds now. So somebody flushed the toilet. That's what it was. God. Oh. All right. That's all we got. Ryan, thank you so much. Anything else that you have on this before you get out of here?
No, nothing major. You get Chip next week, a real draft guy. So no, I love Chip. He's awesome at what he does, and I'm interested to see his board how it differs from mine because I have not seen his, so his will be a surprise to me as well.
Yeah, I try to keep them separated that way. There is no groupthink, and I know you're big on that. Just making sure you kind of do your own thing in your own lane, and so I try to keep y'all separated enough. And I know your boards will change a little bit as we get closer to draft time. Not a ton, hopefully, because Kenny doesn't want to do new graphics mainly. But we can expect that the top ish should stay somewhat near the same, and so we're hoping for that for sure. But as we get closer, it could adjust a tiny bit. But we'll definitely have Chip on next week, and we'll get through a lot of the same kind of things that we'll talk about is going through who he likes for just NBA as a whole, but we'll probably try to get into the Grizzly stuff a little bit quicker. I won't have a 10-minute Grizz trivia white American male player next time, and then I won't include
Don't forget Cuba. Havana, stand up.
That's all we got. It's been fun. Be nice and tell your friends.